struggling with getting up and down off the floor, maybe you're struggling to go up and down stairs, definitely listen to this episode and get some tips to help you out. Alright, so as mentioned before, I've been personal training for a while. I have over 10 plus years of experience, and definitely have come across a clientele who struggle to do those type of tasks. So we're going to focus a little bit on that. So I had this client. She came in and definitely had multiple different struggles, of course, but the hard part was getting up and out of the car was hard. Getting walking was difficult, and just doing everyday tasks. She did have grandkids, and the starting point, we started with 30-minute training sessions. We tried to at least do once a week. I would say for anybody training, honestly, any form of exercise, any little bit is gonna help. But definitely getting somewhere and building a consistent schedule is gonna be the biggest key. So that once a week was just gonna be that specific thing. Well, the goal was to get up to 2. We did get to there. So with this client, we started out pretty basic. Worked on getting that walking mechanics a little bit better. So we worked on her gait, which is again how someone walks. Like if you're trying to study a gait, someone's gait, or if somebody tells you your gait is off, that's going to be how you, where your positioning of your legs to your hips ratio is to how your body moves when you walk. So if you're I'll give you a few things. Potentially a person's gait could be off. So if their feet are turned out more, or they're pigeon-toed, and they walk maybe with a little bit of a limp, or maybe they have a leg that drags, various different pieces that could affect your gait in a negative fashion. So we worked on trying to improve her gait. She had pain in her hips and all. And one of the basic functions, I remember, I think this is the client that actually told me her doctor said not to squat. So, quick thing, if you get told by that, probably shouldn't listen to that doctor. No idea what they're talking about for exercise. It may be great for certain other things, but definitely not for exercise. Not that that's really their specialty anyway, but squatting is a basic fundamental movement. And if you're picturing someone with a heavy barbell on their back, yes, that is a squat, or a form of a squat, but there's way more things to it. We squat every day. If you don't, then potentially, again, you may have like certain circumstances that maybe you don't have any legs, you're paralyzed, something like that. We squat every day. Let me give you a few examples. Getting in and out of your car, you're going to sit down. Getting to your chair at your table, you're sitting down. You're standing up. Those type of things. Sitting on the toilet and standing back up. That's a squat. At its baseline, that's a squat. So, cool. The doctor said you can't squat. We won't squat per se, but the word, but we're going to do sit to stands, which is a squat. We're just going to sit in a chair, stand back up, sit in a chair, stand back up, which is a great basis for a lot of people who struggle with this. So that's number one, definitely practice sit stands or squatting. And I'll get to that in a moment. But so I had this in the client's repertoire or exercise programming start out. So we worked on gait, which is going to obviously be walking. We started on a treadmill so she could hold on, things like that. Strengthening the legs in general is going to be useful. So you start out with baseline exercises to help strengthen the quadriceps, to help strengthen the hamstrings. So quadriceps is the top side of your thighs, the front of your thighs. You want to think of the muscles being 4 different muscles that attach on the top of the thigh. That's why it's called the quads. A lot of people are shorthand call it quads. Then you have your hamstrings, which is a set of muscles, 3 muscles that are on the back side of your thigh that primarily are going to insert behind your hips and to the back of your knee. So strengthening that is definitely going to carry into helping improve your movement pattern or help improve getting up and down. So I've had several clients that had this thing, so I want to kind of bleed these stories together, because I had a gentleman who I remember as he continued to go through training, he would improve. He came back and talking about how it was way easier to do different tasks like getting up and down off of a ladder, feeling steady on the ladder, going down on the floor on one knee, and then being able to get back up with not feeling like he has to grab onto something or stumble and everything. So that was definitely a great benefit of hearing the response. These are things that you definitely want to be able to do as we live, and being able to have way more better mobility as you age is so functional. So with that lady, the same thing. The ability to get out of her car was easier. The ability to do her job as a teacher was easier. As we strengthened her legs, as we strengthened her back, as we focused on improving the hips, which is a humongous foundation to our strength, is the hips. If you're going, I have knee pain, that's why I struggle to do these things, there's a huge potential chance that it is, yes, your pain is showing in your knees, but it is your hips or it is your ankles or both that is technically where it's coming from. So if you strengthen those, if you improve your mobility in those areas, in those joints, you're going to improve your knees. Now, if you, of course, somebody can go, well, I have arthritis. Okay, you have arthritis that's going to be there. I'm not going to be able to take that away, but we can improve your daily function and be able to do daily activities, going up and down stairs. Being able to continue to do that into your 60s, into your 70s, into your 80s, and into your 90s is amazing ability. And saying that it's not, I can attest, I have an 80-year-old lady who goes up and down the stairs without having to hold on to the railing. Now, granted, I did tell her to hover her hand over the railing, because I definitely did not want her to not have that safety mechanism, because that is kind of the whole point of the railing there, for us to, just in case you slip, because anyone can slip on a stair, it doesn't matter your age, but lowering the chances of falling, lowering the chances of that risk, because you have strength and stability in your legs, is going to immensely improve your ability to do daily functions like going up and down stairs. That's awesome. The ability to get up and off the floor, to play with your grandkids. I remember a client telling me that the ability to do that was amazing for them. Being able to, like I said, the gentleman going up and down the ladder, being able to do just things around his house, being able to fix things around his own house, not having to ask for help, amazing. So don't overlook strength training, and don't think that it's just for young people or people who are just trying to look buff. Daily function is important. Strength training is so immensely beneficial for that. So let's talk about some things that you can do to improve your ability to do these daily functions. So like I said, sit to stands. All you need is start out basic. You can regress, you can lower the intensity, you can lower the volume, you can lower how difficult the level it is. Like you you got ground zero, and then of course you can go up from there and progress up from there. So I'm not going to go super high in levels, of course, because again, if you're there, you're doing pretty good anyway. So let's talk about the baseline, not below ground zero, but the baseline. So we got baseline here. So baseline, or your ground zero, is going to be a sit to stand out of a basic normal height chair. Standing up, sitting back down, standing up, sitting back down. The ability to do that in repetitions, the ability to do that consecutively without difficulty, without holding on to something, without grabbing onto someone. So 10, let's say 10, that's a good baseline. Being able to do that. And if you're like, hey, let's test it, let's see where I'm at. If you're capable of doing that without any difficulty, awesome, you're leveling yourself up. Let's say you're like, that ain't happening, that's a struggle. Then let's increase the height of the chair. Is it a pillow, whatever? Increase the height of the chair and work on that. And then slowly improve yourself to get to the next level. You can also, if you have the access, or maybe if you go to the gym, there's suspension trainers. A lot of people know them as TRXs. It's just the name brand. Hopefully this doesn't get edited because we're banned from YouTube for dropping the name. But you have your suspension trainers you can use as assistants to help being able to do that. You're also going to do banded versions where the band helps us. If you attach it to something, it helps you pull you back up. That's different ways to regress the exercise. Progressing the exercise, of course, would be to lower the chair, find a sitting on like a shorter box or a bucket. Being able to do that, standing up, sitting down, standing up. Being able to progress that, you could add weight in your hands. You're barely going to be able to probably see me now, driving in the dark. The storm is definitely coming. So with that, that's a basic movement. Again, that's going to be what some people would consider a knee dominant, depending on what type of squat you do, knee dominant or knee and hip dominant movement pattern. So you want to have some form of squat, some form of knee dominant movement. Just think knee dominant movement or knee and hip dominant movement would be, again, to bend. Primarily the knee is bending a lot more of the function, or taking a lot more of the movement pattern. It's not the only joint moving in that though. So we have your squat. And then you work on a hinging movement pattern. If you follow me on social media, this is going to sound very similar to a lot of posts. So you're going to have a hinging movement pattern. You're going to base it on your level. So a hinging movement is where you move from your hips only, or you bend over without changing your back position, so your back stays straight. Or think if you're going to stoop down to grab something off the floor, and you bend at the hips only, like your knees don't really bend, they're pretty stuck in position. That's a hinging movement. That's at least a basic hinging movement. So baseline is just doing that with it, just to do it, just 10, nothing, no weight, nothing. Primarily focusing on pushing your hips back. You can imagine like you're pushing your hips into a wall. You can even set yourself up to do it like that to get used to the movement. Because a lot of times, a lot of people will just round their back naturally, and they wonder why they build these compensations and they have pain, because they're offloading into their spine versus their hips that are typically going to be way stronger. I'm going to pause for a moment. I did not say that it's bad to bend your back, to round your back. So please do not take that. If your doctor says that, also probably not wise to listen to him, unless he's specific to you, to your specific situation. So, with that being said, a hinging movement, focus on pushing and driving the hips back, keeping the back straight, or think keeping the chest up is another way. Sometimes you can go a little bit into extension in that though, but keeping your back straight in that. So with that, starting with just the baseline of just nothing, to the point of where I'll usually go back to one of those clients. I had I believe I started with a 12-inch box, 12-inch or 6-inch box, something around there, and I just placed a weight, a kettlebell, on the box. And I just had her, once we had learned the mechanics of a hinge, bending over, I had her just bend, had her arms hanging straight, no bend in the elbow, and I had her bend until she could touch the kettlebell. And then she would grab the kettlebell around the handle, and she would stand back up, stand straight up. And then I would say, okay, we're going to repeat the movement. You're going to bring the kettlebell down to the box. You're going to push your hips back. You're going to keep your back straight. You're going to touch the box, and then you're going to stand straight back up. And repeat. That's a good baseline. The goal in that, if I'm going to take that as a point of an example, is you remove the box and slowly develop the range of motion to be able to go all the way down to the floor, come back up with your back staying straight, continuing the same pattern, the movement pattern, loading the hips primarily. So hip dominant movement. With that, again, basic fundamental movement. Those two big components are going to really do some change. So you can also, big keys here, is because lateral movement, even though it may not be something we do often, you got to quickly move out of the way. Lateral movement is very helpful, but where it comes in play to do back to our original point of being able to get up and down off the floor, being able to walk up and down stairs, lateral movement is going to be kind of, think of your safety net, your protection. So you're going to want to practice, of course, basic, just going up and down stairs. So let's just practice the skill. So going up and down short range. So if you have stairs and you're like, I really want to practice, I really want to get good at going up and down the stairs. So squats, like I said, sit and stands are going to be really beneficial to strengthen the quads, to strengthen, honestly, a lot of things, to be honest. But then just take the bottom step, get near the railing, and literally step up, come back down, step up, come back down. Repeat that over and over again until you get really good at it. Build the confidence to be able to go up those stairs and have the strength to do so. Laterally, let's get to that laterally like I talked about. Laterally, take that same idea, that same principle, take that bottom step, hold on to the rail if you need to, and put your foot on it sideways. So now you're facing the railing, And you're going to step up sideways, come back down. Step up sideways, come back down. And repeat the lateral movement pattern to build and strengthen the outer part of the hip, which again are safety mechanism. So those are some movement patterns. It's definitely to practice. So these are baseline movements. If you've been through rehab, these are very similar things that you're going to do in rehab. And the goal would be to progress them. So how you would progress the steps is, of course, walk up all the way down, all the way up the stairs, all the way back down the stairs. You can always take the beginning step. You can always load weight. If you have a gym, you can go to a gym, increase the box height. You can also do the lateral movement with the weight in your hands. Don't suggest going laterally up and down the stairs. I mean, you can. That would be definitely way further into the progression, for sure. So with that, that's some ways to improve your ability. And some of the eventual things, I'm just going to jump really further out into this so you can kind of get a picture for yourself. Is, of course, practice getting up and down off the floor. That's another thing, is try to practice holding on to something, put down one leg, one knee down the floor, one knee on the floor and the other leg bent, the foot's on the floor, and standing up, holding on to something. Slowly improve to where you don't have to hold on to something. It's one way. Another way is you jump ahead here and you go single leg squat variations. So we're thinking lunges, plethora of lunges. There's honestly tons of different lunges, variations that you can do. So lunges definitely going to be beneficial for that point, getting off the floor, of improving your ability to go up and down the stairs, of improving your walking mechanics, your strength as well. And if I had to throw in a last thing, so I don't want to overload this information point here, progressing yourself to single leg hinging movement patterns. So remember we talked about the reaching down, grabbing the kettlebell, picking it up, putting it back down, bending over, or whatever that weight may be. Single leg movement pattern would be, again, you would start various different ways. You could start holding on to a suspension trainer and doing like a teeter-totter, where your one leg's coming off the floor, the one leg's on the floor, you're still hinging, so the back is still straight, the hip is still the dominant mover. You're holding on to the suspension trainer for assistance here. To progress yourself would be to eventually do this without the suspension trainer, where you can just do it without holding on to anything and just do it in the air or in just space. And of course, you can progress that to weighted. You can do kickstand versions where you're really trying to load the leg. That's no longer really focusing on balance, but really strength of that single leg. So those are definitely different things to focus on to slowly give you a direction to go. And no matter where your starting point is, like I said, if you're the individual who's starting where you have to hold on to someone or hold on to a suspension trainer and do a sit to stand in a high chair, like a higher chair, level chair, that's fine. Start where you can start and just continue working at it. Like I said about the shoulders, this is the same thing. No one progresses at the same pace as anyone else. It doesn't matter if you can have two people who have this equal amount of determination and consistent effort, and they still will not progress in the same amount of time. So don't give up. Keep working at it. Try these things out. Let me know how it goes. If you need any more help, definitely hit me up. Social media. Find me on social media, or definitely reach out and learn more about potentially getting some training. Virtual training is definitely a big thing. I have trainers who work for me and myself that works as a trainer, that we can definitely help you out and really help you get back to enjoying your life and living it to the fullest as you can, by getting that ability to move as you need to. Till next time.